Our first step, remember, was we were looking at the flower, paying a special attention to the edges and the contours, what was close to us, the foreground, what was in the middle, what was in the back, and how the lines or contours change. We talked about an ant crawling around the edge. So we're going to keep those same things in mind. Our goal is to make our drawing that is flat look three-dimensional. So how do we do that? We don't just use light, medium, and dark. Sometimes as the artist, we have to exaggerate the values to make our drawing really come alive. In these areas that have texture, we're going to be adding texture. Sometimes we have to exaggerate the texture in order to make the drawing work. So the first thing is I want you to think about our value scale. In our value scale, our highlight was 0%. So what is the lightest part of the flower? That is the top edges of some of these petals. So I'm going to start here. That's going to be my highlight. So I'm going to find that area in my drawing, and I'm going to just start shading, and you'll notice I'm using the side of my pencil. It's always easier to add shading than to take it away. And I'm noticing right now as I'm doing this that I am missing kind of an important line, and I'm going to come back and add that right there. Okay, so if you notice that you miss something or you need to add more detail, it's perfectly fine to go ahead and start. I also want to notice that the lines of the petal go up. So I don't just want to go sideways or horizontal or vertical. I want to think about how the flower is growing. So I might need to turn my paper a little bit. And so just like the ribs on the leaf, and don't be afraid to come back and lighten it a little bit. But last time when we were drawing our shoe, we talked about the fact that erasing sometimes makes our drawings dirty. So I can also, as I'm developing the values, I can quite often take care of an area that I'm not that happy with or that I'd like to change by changing the values. Now I want to come down here and look at this part of the flower. I have to decide if it's lighter on the outside or lighter in the center, and the outsides are a little lighter than the center piece, so I'm going to start light. I can always make it darker, and then right up here the value shifts and it's quite a bit darker on the underneath. This was the top of our petal, and now we're on the back of our petal. And I don't have to use the side of my pencil for all of the shading, but it kind of helps get me going in the right direction. Okay, now I'm looking at this area. This is pretty light on the side, and here this underneath is lighter and the petal is darker. So I'm going to come into the edge of the petal, and I want to be careful that I'm not just outlining. Outlining is going to make my drawing look flat. So think about a coloring book. Coloring books have black lines, and then this is light, and then on this petal and if it feels awkward, you know, it's okay to turn your paper. I'm not that happy with that, so I might be coming back and adjusting that. Let's come down here to this area. So you'll notice that it's lighter on the sides and it's darker in the middle. So this is our lighter area here, so the shadow is right along this edge. And then it comes into this center area. And then there's a little shadow on this edge. And shadow actually comes in kind of like this. So it's okay that I don't have a dark line there, but I want to look at how that shadow is in the inside of that shape. And then, just like with our intersecting circles, I'm going to fade the shadow out. I'm not just going to let it drop. Okay? Now coming behind, I'm switching my pencil. I had it this way, now I have it this way because this part is quite a bit darker. I don't want to start too dark at first, but I'm changing up the pencil because I want to change the value. And I have a little bit more control. And I can use more pressure, but I can also change the direction of my line. And then lighten the pressure. Okay, so I'm gradually building. All right, let's go over here. This piece is light. So now I have, these are flat, so I have to look at where is the edge? Where is it lighter? Is it lighter at the edge? Is it lighter in the center? How can I provide contrast? This area is textured, so how can I do that? But look, it's not textured on the whole piece. It has this kind of sheath right here that's smooth and lighter. So the texture, and if I just did dots, it's going to look like I was trying to create a pin cushion. So I'm making kind of dashy marks, but not like I drew them with a ruler. Because remember, a plant is organic and natural, so it's okay that they're kind of squiggly. Okay, so there's my texture. And then looking here, it's darker. Here again, now I'm going to switch back to, all right. Now, we've got a lighter petal here, but even on this lighter yellow petal, there's a little bit of shading or shadow on the side. The blossom is casting a shadow here. And then because it's not flat, there's a little bit of shadow on this edge. All right, so compared to the blossom, this is darker, but this is lighter than the part where we were just working over here. So again, where is the light? Where is the shadow? It's almost like I'm making a sculpture. How can I make it not flat? All right, now, one of the things that we talked about with our shoe, and I'm going to talk about right now, is sometimes when we're working on our drawing, we can't really tell how it's working. So it's very important as you're working to hold it out a little bit away so you can see how the lights and shadows are working. You can see where it looks flat. Okay, some of that I'm pretty happy with. This has nothing, so now I'm going to come work over here. And right here where this part is joining into this little textured ball, it's darker. And it's darker up here at the tip, and it's lighter in the middle. How can I get it to feel three-dimensional? This textured shape, the little untextured part isn't really showing on my paper, but the inside edge is highlighted, so I'm going to use my texture marks on the outside and let the highlight fade away. I've got this little piece here, so I need to bring in some value here. It's delicate, so now I'm using the tip of my pencil. Okay, so now let's come back up to the flower. What's happening here? No value or no shading is going to make it look flat. So it's lighter at the tip or lightest at the tip. So how can I show that the values are changing as it goes and connects to the flower blossom. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, the top is still too much the same and too flat. So now, how can I make the light come forward? By putting a little bit of darker value, not dark, but I have to decide. Here the petal is turning, so where that the petal shifts, I'm going to find that point and put in a little bit of value. I'm going to need something in here, but I don't know how much. So next, I'm going to come back, and the leaf is pretty dark compared to the petals. And so I'm following, I don't want to outline, but I'm following the motion of this here. Okay, now let's take a look at our leaves for a moment. Some of the ribs, or the spaces between the ribs, are dark, but the ribs themselves have some light veins. So don't forget about that. If you forget, then it's fine to come back with the edge of your eraser and come in. So we want to allow that space for those light veins. If I put in every single line or every single shape, it's going to be complex and it would be like a photograph. So as an artist, I am, and I want you also, you're interpreting what you see. Okay? If we wanted it to be exactly like it is, we would take a photograph. All right, so I'm trying to kind of keep in mind that those veins are light and the dark is behind. And I'm providing contrast with the flower. So I don't want to get caught up in trying to draw every single vein in the leaf or every single pattern. And it might be that you want to make the background dark, but I think the leaf is pretty dark, so I think on this one I'm just going to develop the values in the leaf to be the darkest. So it's going to take a little bit of doing. And here I'm just going to kind of, I think, let that go for now. All right, so you can see now is a fine time to look from a distance. And I like how that's coming out. The flower is a little bit flat here. I need to do something there. And then I think I need to develop the values in the leaf, the darker values more. So coming back and looking here, this was a lighter edge, but in here, there's a little value right in here. So it's lighter at the edge. And lighter up to there, lighter at the edge. Okay, right now this isn't working very much over here. So what would happen if I just simplify that by kind of making it dark and eliminating that altogether? The eraser can be your friend. That's working better. So our drawing is a process of building. Once we have our roadmap established, then you have to look at the flower, look at your drawing, see where it needs to be dark. Remember, we want to try to use the whole entire value range on our value scale, not just light, not just medium, not just dark. So I need to come in and kind of beef up some of my values. What is the direction of the blossom? How is it going? Remember, we've got two ways we can use our pencil. We've got the side and we've got the tip. If it's looking too flat, usually that means the values are too similar, so I need to create some more contrast, some difference. And just go with it. So once we've started our drawing, now we have to let our drawing do what our drawing needs. This space right here is not working. It's kind of competing, so I think it's going to have to go darker. Remember, I want the flower to stand out, so it's going to have to be darker than the buds around it, so it's not competing. So how do I make something stand out? I put darker behind. Okay, so that makes it part of the flower pop forward. Down here, the same for my textured area. I want this little gem here to stand out, so I'm going to darken this, not as much as the other area because it's on the plant stem itself. Carry that through. Okay, so how is that working? Is it three-dimensional yet? Is it starting to pop off the page? If it is, I'm getting there. If it's not, I need to keep working. Don't be afraid to set it aside for a little while, a half hour, 15 minutes, and come back and look at it again. What I notice now is this corner is too light down here, so I'm going to go ahead and, all right, and so I'm going to set the flower down. And this corner I think is still a little bit too light, so I'm going to darken that, and I think that will really make it pop. So, enjoy drawing your flower. Remember to observe the lines, the edges. Start with what is closest to you, the foreground, then to the middle ground, then to the background. Be aware of overlapping, and remember it's okay to make a mistake. We want to work that into our flower whenever we can, and nobody's going to know if the edges are a little wrinkly or have a different kind of wrinkle than the actual flower. So we're trying to capture the essence of the flower. When you're working on your shading, remember we're trying to use the whole entire range of our value scale, not just light, medium, and dark. And that will help our drawings become more three-dimensional and more realistic or naturalistic looking. Happy drawing!